You're listening to Opera Box Score.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Wherever you are, however you're listening, it's America's talk radio show about opera. It's Opera Box Score. I'm Oliver Camacho, joined by Matt Cummings. This week, James Gaffigan goes inside the huddle. The American conductor, who was recently named music director of Houston Grand Opera, is set to conduct Salome at the Komishe Oper, which opens this Saturday in Berlin. Gaffigan shares his perspective on making music in Germany and what Americans always bring to the table. Plus, in the 2-minute drill, the Hymens, the International Opera Awards have been handed out, and we're demanding a recount as somehow Huw Monague Rendall did not win Male Singer of the Year travesty. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast on Spotify. Click follow. On Apple Podcasts, hit the plus sign. You can also stream episodes of OBS every Saturday at 10 a.m. Central at amplisoundsradio.com. Email us your hot takes by writing to mailbag@operaboxscore.com or upload a voice memo using the You Got Something to Say tab on our website, operaboxscore.com. However you contribute, you'll get an OBS beer coaster, an OBS lapel pin, and a #1 OBS fan foam finger, just for sharing your own hot take. Matt Cummings, good evening.
Good evening, Oliver. I don't remember the last time that you and I did a show, just the two of us.
I know, it's so strange. It's like people are going to see the real how the sausage is made on the podcast today. Quick thing about sports. Yesterday I
hope it's about tennis.
Well, shortly, but I was at the gym watching like the last 2 or 3 plays of the Bears game, and it was very exciting, I have to say, to see our Chicago Bears. I think their 7th game this season. I think that's true, and I think that makes us first in our department.
but was there any tush pushing? The question on all of our listeners' minds.
But what was the most important sports event for me was the ATP finals yesterday in Turin. My Carlitos lost to Yannick 7-6, 7-5.
Is he again? He's a tennis player now?
Exactly. But despite losing the ATP finals, he still retains his year-end #1 ranking. Felix Auger-Aliassime moved up 3 slots to 5th place. The season is over until January when the Australian Open begins, but there is one of these Davis Cup things. It's like this national
tournament.
The
All-Star game.
It's like team sports, and the finals feature Italy, Spain, Czechia, Argentina, Germany, France, Belgium, and Austria. And the inclusion of Italy and Spain means that it means that Carlos probably will play a few more matches this year. Yannick Sinner has already decided not to participate in the Davis Cup, but Italy is doing great without him. Anyway, I doubt we'll hear much from me about tennis until January. It's so far away.
Well, hope springs eternal, much like us yes. Waiting for some sets after 5 p.m.
Before we talk about opera, is something non-opera you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I can't say that I'm quite as much of a sports aficionado as you this week, but I do kind of feel like I went to a sporting event last week when I was home in Pittsburgh. My family ended up with an extra ticket to go see the Paul McCartney concert at PPG Paints Arena where the Penguins play. There's our sports connection. And hot take incoming, but that Paul McCartney, pretty good musician. I was not, I wouldn't say that I went into the event with the highest expectations, just given how the older rocker performances on the nostalgia circuit can sometimes be extremely cringeworthy. But the man is 83 years old and he still sounds pretty dang good, including playing 4 or 5 different instruments. And if you are in a city where this tour is coming and there are still tickets available, I wouldn't not recommend going. It was pretty cool to see a legend in action.
Does he sound as good as Sting?
We're gonna have to wait to find out.
You heard in last week's episode, because I know you listened to the episodes, that Weston is not a Beatles fan.
Well,
just so weird. That actually makes a lot of sense. That actually makes a lot of sense.
More Schnitka for him.
Exactly. But if you don't like Beatles, you end up liking
Hans Werner Henze.
Or what is this? Stockhausen. Yeah. Okay, let's talk some opera.
Chalk Talk on Opera Box Score.
James Gaffigan was named the incoming music director of Houston Grand Opera beginning in the 27-28 season. It's his first titled role with an American institution. He is currently the general director of the Komische Oper in Berlin, and he just finished his tenure as music director at Palau and Valencia. James Gaffigan joins us from Berlin, where he is just about to conduct the prima of Salome. Before we join that conversation, let's hear from Corey Dostor, the announcing of James Gaffigan as new music director.
Identifying HGO's next music director has been no small task. It is therefore my great joy, truly, and my great honor to announce to you all, the people who matter the most, Houston Grand Opera's next music director, James Gaffigan.
I'm going to officially welcome you, James Gaffigan, to Opera Box Score. Thank you for joining us from Berlin.
Thank you for having me.
So this was my year of James Gaffigan. I heard you. I mean, I've seen your name out there, and I've been sort of been aware of your existence and your career, but I didn't get a chance to watch you conduct until this past spring, when you did an American program with Chicago Symphony Orchestra with friend of the show Janai Brugger. And I just remember thinking that you were so charismatic, that you were such a joy to watch, that it was really the type of concert you could invite anybody to, because the music is going to be good, the music making is going to be good, Janai is insane, and you're also just a joy to watch. And that joy does actually come through in the music making. And I was just really happy about that event, because as somebody who is working in this industry and is concerned about audience shrinkage and welcoming new people in, I felt like that was a great concert to, give people a taste of why we love this thing.
Thank you. I mean, I agree about the repertoire. I agree about Janai. Like, she's extraordinary, and she is a charisma ball, and she's wonderful. And the Chicago Symphony, luckily, can play American music extremely well alongside Dvorak or alongside, any of the classics. So I'm happy you enjoyed that. It is a type of program that anyone could come and feel welcome. And I think the biggest problem we have in our world is that people don't feel welcome. If you go to a concert like that, you're hooked, and people are going to go back. The danger is so often we do these things that look elitist or look fancy, or that you have to dress a certain way, or you have to read a certain book to understand what's happening on stage. It's an absurd idea, actually, and I'm all about fighting against that. And I thought the program you mentioned is a perfect introduction opportunity. I agree with you, and it was the energy was contagious. I'm happy you felt it, and making music with a great orchestra is part psychology, part musicianship, part ballet. It's all this kind of give and take, and I'm happy you enjoyed it, because I enjoy my job.
Well, I'm glad you said ballet and that there is this sort of dance. And I don't know if other listeners who are hearing this right now have seen you conduct on stage and not in the pit. But I was thinking, how are you going to fit in the Santa Fe Opera pit with the way you conduct? You're so physical, you're so dynamic. And also Die Walküre is a long song. So also it seems like you give a lot of energy when you conduct. Like, how do you pace yourself for a 4-hour marathon, and how do you use your skill as a physical communicator in a space that is not about you?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question. And I would say there's a big difference between sprinting and running a marathon, like you said. And of course, the way I conduct Wagner is a lot different than the way I conduct Gershwin, physically speaking. The truth of the matter is technique is technique. You need to be clear. You can't be just dancing up there. That has nothing to do with the music. The musicians need a certain amount of information at crucial moments. So the biggest difference is exactly what you said. People don't see me for opera, and I actually really love that, which sounds counterintuitive, or it sounds backwards. But the truth of the matter is, I really love being down there with the musicians, and I truly love not being the center of attention. And I'm not just saying that to be nice. It's a strange feeling to make everyone look better. But that's exactly what opera is. Me and my colleagues are in the pit to make the singer feel as comfortable as possible, to be able to do the things they have to do, to make the production look and sound as good as possible, but not be seen. And I love that. I love that. So that's why I need the dichotomy of that in my life. I need those concerts with Chicago Symphony and New York Philharmonic and San Francisco with the musicians on stage, but I need the pit also, the background, the kind of like the football, baseball coach, or football coach of like, you got all this talent in front of you. You need to make them work together. So yeah, conducting Valkyrie is a completely different beast. You need to pace yourself. You can't stop along to smell every flower along the way, or otherwise the night will be going on forever. And it's already a long song, as you said. So Wagner's a master, but so is Gershwin. And they're just like religions. They're all trying to get to the same place, but with a bit of a different path.
So I saw you, as I said, at Santa Fe in this really exciting production of Valkyrie with friend of the show, Ryan Speedo Green. Solomon Howard also is a friend of the show. His name, McCorkle, Tammy, of course, Tammy, she's also from the show. But is it Jamez or McCorkle? Jamez, okay. Yeah. And all of those people are exciting to hear, but I feel like the show was stolen by Vida Mikevichute. I just could not believe the sounds this woman was making as Sieglinde.
I couldn't agree more. The first rehearsal, I haven't talked about this on an interview, but it was so shocking to me because, for the listeners, Vida's a small woman. She's a tiny, svelte, she's Lithuanian, normal looking woman, and her sound is massive. It's massive and beautiful and shocking. No one is expecting that voice to come out of that figure. It does. I've never seen it before. I've never heard anything like that in real life. And literally, we were all in shock when we did the first music rehearsal. And I had complete tears in my eyes when she names him Sigmund. The hair, right now in my arms, I feel the hair standing up. It was like, it was godly sound. And it's just nothing prepares you to hear that in real life. And I think people who are new to opera don't realize that these voices are not amplified. And in a place like Santa Fe, where it's half outdoor, half indoor, to hear a sound like that and see the charisma and the acting abilities of this woman, it's truly extraordinary.
And the audience begins to just look at each other like, what?
Yeah, how is this possible? And then when you think it's loud, she has another volume. She could go 2 steps higher. And every night was like this. Every single night was like this. And I was so naive when I met her. I went running up after the first music rehearsal. I said, thank you for being here in Santa Fe. Have you done this a lot? Have you done, because I didn't know, I didn't do my homework into who she was or what she's done. She said, well, yeah, the last time was with the Berlin Philharmonic. I said, oh, okay, so never mind. Anyway, because, and I have to say, to her credit, the last thing I'll say about her, that I know we have to talk about other things. She was so kind and patient with the rest of the cast, many of which were doing it for the first time. She was like, she's young, but she was acting like motherly, like in a beautiful motherly way, helping these people like Jamez and some other people in the most gracious way to get where they were going. I'm really impressed with her, not just musically, but just as a person.
You're going to get a chance to work with her again this spring as Salome in Valencia. So I would love to go out there and hear that. But before we leave the topic of Vida, this is more generally about singing. Since you are in Europe a lot, do you know anything about what's happening in Lithuania? Like, where all these singers are coming from? Like, is it the language?
There are like a few secret countries that you think, they're so small and they're producing, like, I think the 2 that come to my Lithuania and Armenia.
Armenia, yeah. Juliana Gregorian or something like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And Asmik and
Yeah.
Mane, the new one,
Yeah.
Mane.
Yeah, I love Manet. Yeah.
You know, these small countries, something, and it's like this in all different genres. Like I meet so many Romanian violinists. I meet so many Bulgarian violinists. And it's like, where do they come from? And you know, Poland's a pretty big country, but there are extraordinary musicians coming from Poland. And it's not about one teacher or one school. There must be something in the water. I don't know.
Well, I wonder, and it's going to be too long of a discussion, but if there's something about the language and the way, maybe culturally, the way they talk that creates a ready, like built-in resonators, you know, especially on that metallic end, on that like more like soar over the orchestra end, you know, that we don't have as Americans or that Italians don't have, you know. Italians have like a very like tall sound and like, you know, back vowels and like, you know, warm, you know, and then you get these Eastern European singers that just have this edge to their voice. It's like, it's like a blade, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I meet a lot of extraordinary singers out here in Berlin, but also in the United States, and they come from all over. But you're right. Sometimes from these small countries, I don't think there's any reason. I don't think it's the language. I think it's them. I think the saddest thing is that there's so much talent everywhere. They just don't know they have it.
Yeah.
That's why I think, you know, and that's when I miss public school education. Like the way I learned, we all sing in class, you know, we did, probably no music anymore in the system, but sad.
Well, we're speaking today to talk about your new appointment at Houston, but since now the audience already has the idea that you're in Berlin, you're at Komishe Oper, you're the music director at Komische Oper.
General music director, yeah.
And you're wrapping up your tenure at Valencia Palau.
I already did, yeah, last season, but I'm returning for the Salome, yes.
So this is a tough question.
Ready.
Do you have sort of a sense of what the Spanish audience is like and what the German audience is like and what the American audience is like and where is the difference, especially on the music making, the musical sophistication, but even what they will accept on stage?
Yes. So Valencia, it's very clear. It's a very traditional audience. But when they trust you, they will trust to hear, let's say, out of the box repertoire, a new piece they don't know, a lesser known piece by a famous composer. You could push the boundaries. For example, we did Wozzeck there, which for them is pushing the boundaries. And by the time the fifth performance came, we were sold out and they wanted more. They did Le Femme Partie, like of Kurtag, that did not go over so well for the ticket sales, but it was important that the house do it. I wasn't conducting, but I find that the mentality in a place like Valencia is they like the grand opera. And that's very similar to American culture. Everyone loves the Zeffirelli Bohème, you know, at the Met. It's really one of these things that everyone needs to see. You love it. You love it at Christmas time. It is what it is. And I'm not going to poo-poo that. There's something extraordinary about grand opera, seeing the Turandot production at the Met or, you know, Aida in Verona or whatever, these types of things. However, in Berlin, that's not going to work. The more out there, the better. The more scandalous, the more risk-taking. They want to see things that are different and shocking. You know, they want to be moved sometimes out of their comfort zone. And my goal in America would be to gain the trust that we had in Valencia or Berlin, and that people will come, even if the title is not something that is in their comfort zone or they're familiar with. And this is more about trust than it is about marketing or repertoire. It has to be like, okay, James and HGO are going to do this. We should probably go see it, you know? And in Valencia, it depends a lot on the superstar, the singer involved. It depends on if people like bel canto or not. You know, they're the Wagner lovers and then there's the bel canto lovers. They rarely cross-pollinate, you know? And what I love about America is the orchestras are versatile, but I think the public is also versatile. And that's a dream of mine to accomplish at HGO, that when people see a title like Katya Kabanova or Yanufa, they're not intimidated because it's Janacek or it's in a Czech language. They're going to go because they know it's going to be great. And it might be a style of music that they don't know about, that they could potentially fall in love with.
You said so many things there, but I just need to pull a couple more strings. Can you say something about what does, since you're in Berlin, what does the audience do who or the tourists and the families who want to see something more accessible, for lack of a better word, or something less risky? Where do they go?
So, yeah, the three opera houses in Berlin, Staatsoper is they have the biggest budget, and they are everything they do is quite elegant and pristine and clean. And I would say the things that go on Staatsoper, this is the family-friendly, operatic, ballroom type fantasy. You will get what you think opera is supposed to be as a tourist at the highest level imaginable. Deutsche Oper does so many titles and has so many things in their repertoire, and there's a mix of out there stuff and very traditional stuff. So it's kind of a mixed bag. And they have a little more trouble filling the seats all the time because they just do so much. Komishe is like the outcast, like the crazy cousin or the of the opera houses. We will shock you. We will take risks, but everything will be at a high quality, and it will always be sold out. And I don't believe in pushing the boundaries just to push boundaries to make a scandal. I really don't like that. I think in the end, you should be moved and you should be touched by the music and the production. And I could guarantee you at Komishe, everything we do has so much heart and so much thought put into it that you're going to be moved. You might disagree with the production. You might be distracted and be irritated that someone has changed something about this thing you feel so attached to, but that's a good thing. What I love about the critics and the audience in Berlin is they always have an opinion, and it's never the same. It's never unified. And I think there's beauty in that. People hate the director. People love the director. People can't stand the way the conductor did Mozart, or people thought it was the best Mozart ever done, ever in the history of the world. It's like you'd be shocked how you can read such incredibly different reviews and also listen to the public when they're having drinks at intermission. Occasionally there's something that comes together that everyone agrees with, and that's also beautiful, but it's more rare.
Well, I'm just browsing, scratching the surface of the Komishe website. I see this image where the billboards say Chicago and Sweeney Todd, and I'm looking at upcoming programs, and there's a Kurt Weill song spiel. Is it important for Komishe as a brand to have an American on the team to give guidance on this repertoire?
That's an interesting question. I never thought of it that way, but I think it works to their benefit. I think I kind of fit in to this place somehow. I love the public of Komishe. When you go in the lobby, you see every type of person, every age group, every socioeconomic group, every type. You see the gay community, the trans community. You see cross-dressers. You see every color of skin. It's just and everyone goes there and feels comfortable there. And I truly love that. And that's a lot of, our audience has a lot to do with who we are musically and artistically as a company. So our programming, La Cage, if you're looking at their website, we have La Cage. We have even our children operas push the boundaries to what people think is traditional. And I think that's very important. I think a company should reflect what its audience is and what its audience desires are. And I think that's why when I look at America, some of these institutions, the X Symphony or the Y Symphonies, half the population is Black, African American, and there's no African Americans on stage or in the public, maybe 2%. They're doing something wrong, and I don't mind saying that. I won't name the orchestras, but you probably know who I'm talking about. It's embarrassing for the city. And I think when you look at Berlin, it's one of those few perfect examples that the public, that when you look at the demographics of our audience, you're like, oh, I'm at Komishe Oper without a doubt. It's a total party. It's a total party, and it's everyone's invited, and I love it. I truly love it.
I'd like to imagine that our audience is comprised mostly of singers, but also super fans of opera. So with this question, we'll set Spain aside. Can you give a little bit of overview for the American singer who is thinking about trying to make it in Germany? What are the difference in working conditions between the American system and the German system?
Yeah, that's a very difficult question, but I'll try to answer it the best I can. So the good thing that an American artist has for them is preparation. I could say with 100% confidence, Americans audition better than Europeans when it's a first impression. I know this is a big statement, but there's a tradition in preparation for American singers that is much more serious than Europeans, and even at the top level. When a European singer's coming to do something for the first time, they kind of know it and they kind of figure it out. What Americans have going is they've coached it. They've spent time with a pianist, spent time with a coach. They spend time with language, with a diction coach, with perhaps a great repetiteur or a conductor. It's going to be beneficial for you to show up to Europe, especially if it's a first time meeting and a smaller role. You have a better chance of getting that role. The problem now is with visas and everything. Everything is so complicated in the world. It makes life a bit complicated. But I would really encourage American singers to try to get to the German houses, because a lot of these German houses, they need a team of people. They need a staff, whatever. They have different terms for this in German, but they need a bunch of people to put on as many operas as they need to do and be switching role to role. And I think that Americans do great in these systems. The biggest difference is this kind of stagione thing at Houston Grand Opera or Chicago or San Francisco. It's stagione. They do one title and then they do the next title. In Germany, there's 6 titles going on at the same time. And you could be a singer and be involved in 2 productions at the same time, or 3 sometimes. And this will make you either crazy, or you'll take advantage of it and learn your craft and be able to go on to bigger and better things.
This is a tricky question for me to ask, but I always want the answer to be clear for, at least from my perception, what I think is clear. Who is better at style? Who is better at fitting into the music, the different genres and the different languages? Are Americans good at this?
That's a tough question. You're right, but it's truly pluses and minuses. And I could say honestly what I think. I think Americans, and I've said this a lot in interview, have an incredible technique in general. Just generally speaking, Americans are extremely prepared and they're quick with preparation. European strength is that everything comes from music. Technique, you can get to the technique through music, whereas Americans think you could get to music through technique. I remember being a young musician in New York, and you got to get it together first, and then you could talk about music. And in Europe, it's kind of like, what is this about musically? And then we'll get it together. So it's just like, it's looking in different directions, but we all want the same thing. We want to be musical and we want to be technically proficient. So the biggest thing I notice when you talk about styles, Americans have the potential to be great at everything. And I don't say that in a conceited way. It's just because it's who we are. We're made up of everything. the country is made up of everything and everyone. So we have no excuse not to be versatile and switch from jazz to classical to Bach to Wagner to Debussy. But there's something in the blood of Europeans, especially when it comes to the vitamins, I call it, like the Mozart, the Haydn, the Schubert. There's something that they have innately about phrasing. And I can't give you the reason why. Maybe it's the way they learn in school. When I think back to kids singing in classrooms, maybe it has to do with that. Maybe it has to do with the way they sing things, and maybe there's a certain lilt in the language or something. I truly don't know what it is. I just know that when you come to a European orchestra with a Mozart symphony, they offer you the way they play it. Whereas Americans are like, well, what do you want? You're the conductor, tell us what to do. Whereas if you show up to Leipzig Gewandhaus or you show up to Bayerischer Rundfunk in Munich and you read a Beethoven piano concerto, they're going to play in the style that they think Beethoven should go. Americans are more blank slate. Like, okay, let's start from the beginning. What style? Are we doing vibrato or no vibrato? Are we going to phrase more or are we going to phrase less? And there's this unspoken thing in Europe, like this is the way it goes because we know it, and that's a good and bad thing. Like I said, plus and minuses. And I think I've learned so much working in Switzerland, Austria, and Germany that I couldn't have learned in the United States. And that's a fact. So in a perfect world, everyone would go to Europe for a little bit and then go back home when they're fed up.
There's a colleague of yours at an opera house where you recently worked, who's known for historically informed performance practice with modern orchestras, who was telling me a story of conducting a Haydn symphony, and he wanted something that was very historically informed, and one of the violinists just got up and said, "No, I don't play a violin like that," and walked out.
Oh yeah, no, I know it happens all the time, and but there are brilliant people that can get to modern players. And I could mention one because I'm very proud to know him, Harry Bickett. Harry Bickett is extraordinary at getting people to sound like they know what they're doing in Baroque music, even when they don't. And he could inspire the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra to sound like a historically informed ensemble. It's extraordinary. I've heard Handel there, and I couldn't believe it, what he accomplished in a week of rehearsals. And he is charming, he's kind. And I think if you're a good musician in a good orchestra, you want to learn these things. And it's refreshing in some ways. When we talk about historical performance practice, you have to study that a little bit. You can't call yourself a conductor or musician if you don't know anything about what happened hundreds of years ago and how this stuff was born into our repertoire. So I kind of live in between the world of Harnoncourt and Karajan, right in the middle, the over-romantic version and really historically informed. And I believe you could learn from both sides.
Well, believe it or not, I feel like we talked about Houston through all the conversation we've had up to this point about your responses to the difference between Americans and Europeans and your work with the orchestra. I feel like people listening have a really great idea about who you are and what you bring. And I have to say, the answer you gave about American strength and weaknesses, if we can call it that, was the most satisfying I've gotten out of conductor in this format. I've had private conversations which went in that direction, but you said it in a way that I think is actually puts a good spin on what we offer as Americans. Let's actually talk about Houston. That starts in 2027.
Correct.
Yeah. What are you able to do as music director? What are you able to bring to the company? And what experience would you like to, in your history with Valencia and with Berlin, to foster in Houston?
Well, I think first, I must say, and I'm again not just giving compliments, but what has happened there before is extraordinary. What they've built, and I always say this: the foundation is laid, and it's very rare to walk into an institution that's fiscally healthy, and has a solid foundation on which to build upon. Because normally you got to tear everything up, rip it down, and start from scratch. Having said that, I think there are big things to build upon, especially the orchestra. I think it's easy for an orchestra at an opera house to be ignored because, like we talked about before, you don't see them. You don't get to know them like you get to know the young artists on stage or the superstar singers. And they're felt left out. And it's not to make you feel bad about them. It's just that these are extraordinary individual musicians who don't get enough credit. And it's not just a financial thing or a recognition thing. They need to be more involved in the story of HGO. And that's one of my biggest jobs. And it's one of my biggest dreams is to build the orchestra further. So, for example, having them play together more, having more rehearsals, having more young artist interactions with them, perhaps in the future building an academy, because in every opera orchestra in Europe, there's an academy of young musicians that join, and they're paid a stipend, and they learn from the older, experienced musicians, and they also give energy to the ensemble and kind of youth to the ensemble. So there are these things about the orchestra that I would truly like to develop. And I made it clear to Corey, and Corey made it clear to me, Corey Dastor, the executive director, that she's on board with me to invest into the future of the orchestra. And that's all I needed to hear. And I was sold on that. And that's a big goal for me. On top of that, diversifying repertoire is really important, that we gain this trust of the public. And this is really hard to do. It takes time. It doesn't happen in 1 or 2 years. It's something that, again, this feeling that, okay, James is conducting this piece. We might not know it, but we don't want to miss it. You know, we there's a reason why this company is doing this piece with this director and this cast and this orchestra. So this takes time, but there's not a doubt in my mind that we will do it. Also, you know, experiencing the Porgy and Bess there, it was an extraordinary experience. It was especially extraordinary to see the type of audience, the diversity in the public. It was everything any marketing person would dream of to see in their theater. It was everyone. And it wasn't just because it was like, it was age groups too. It was a lot of young people, a lot of first timers. And that's so exciting to me. And it's what an American company should be. And it's rare these days. I mean, you're hearing about all these empty halls. Everything going on in DC is terrifying, with ticket sales, with the obvious things happening. So I really look at HGO as a beacon for other institutions. And for me to be a part of it, it's a dream. It's the right time in my life to be jumping on that train. And I want to be invested in not just building the orchestra and the young artist program with the singers, but in the community. I want people to understand that it's a welcoming place. And yeah, okay, there'll be galas, there'll be black tie events. These are really fun, but anyone's welcome to any performance at HGO. And that's the biggest message I want to send out. And sometimes you have to go to them, to these communities, to different communities, to show them what we're doing and inspire them to come. Because we can't just expect people to walk into this huge, intimidating building, you know. It's daunting to some people.
James Gaffigan begins his role as music director of Houston Grand Opera in the 27-28 season. It's his first titled role with an American institution. If you are in Berlin, Salome with the Komische Oper opens on Saturday as of this recording. This will be broadcast next week. James, it was a crush before I got a chance to talk to you. It's a full-on swoon right now. So I took my shot. The audience heard it.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you come on. It's such a pleasure to meet you. And it's such a pleasure to talk to someone who has a passion for what we do and understands what we do.
A little bit of Vida Minkiewicz singing the role of Elsa in the first act of Lohengrin. We talked a lot about Vida in our interview, Matt, which you haven't heard yet. So I thought we should listen to Vida just so you all know I'm not crazy. She's incredible. Thanks to Primo Artists for connecting us to James Gaffigan. Once again, if you're anywhere near Berlin, Salome opens up this Saturday. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, click follow on Apple Podcasts, hit the plus sign, leave us a review, do all the things, including give us money. And now it's time for the 2-minute drill.
This just in, the 2-minute drill.
All right, listen up. Here's everything you need to know about what happened in Operaland this week.
The Kennedy Center is postponing or relocating all concerts scheduled to take place between November 24th and December 12th, while the FIFA World Cup organization uses the space for the 2026 World Cup draw. Executive Director Rick Grinnell disputed initial reports suggesting that FIFA would not be paying the rental fees for the venue, saying, FIFA is paying the Kennedy Center multi-millions of dollars plus all expenses for their December event, and we haven't canceled a single show. We shifted events as we regularly do to find space.
Sting's musical, The Last Ship, which played for a brief run on Broadway in 2014, will be presented in a newly revised version at the Met next June. Inspired by Sting's childhood in the English shipbuilding town of Wallsend, the production features a new book and co-stars Sting's longtime collaborator Shaggy as the ferryman. Sting himself will reprise the role of shipyard foreman Jackie White. Ahead of these performances, an extended version of Sting's The Last Ship album will be released next month.
Paris Opera is widening access to the art form and securing its future through a youth orchestra program, Apprentissage de l'Orchestre, or ADO. ADO encompasses 2 ensembles bearing the names of legends affiliated with the Paris Opera, the Rudolf Nureyev Orchestra for players as young as 8, and the Maria Callas Orchestra, which includes older teenagers and young adults up to age 25. The Paris Opera has defied the mold with ADO by training young orchestra players in operatic repertoire and having them accompany professional singers. Most players have been recruited from music schools in the city's less affluent suburbs and participate free of charge.
The Ivers Academy has introduced new commissioning agreement templates for composers to ensure that their new works are created under fair and transparent terms. Created by legal experts with input from composers and commissioners, the templates will cover key areas including performance details, fees, copyright recording, and composer crediting. These templates offer a framework that supports fairness, clarity, and confidence on both sides, reflecting the Ivers Academy's commitment to empowering music creators, said composer and board director Emily Howard.
Hamburg State Opera has unanimously selected a design by Bjarke Ingels Group for their new opera house. The building will be located on a peninsula in the waterfront development Hafen City and features a series of terraced green roofs and a public park expanding from the main concert hall all the way to the edge of the Elbe. Visitors can move along the facades and glimpse into the foyer, rehearsal rooms, backstage areas, and offices, revealing the complexity behind a working opera house, said BIG partner David Zahle.
Arena de Verona has postponed its upcoming production of Aida in Adelaide, Australia, due to quote-unquote unforeseen challenges, which have disrupted plans to ship the production sets, costumes, and equipment from Italy. Verona became concerned the freight would miss its designated shipping window to clear customs before rehearsals. The performances will now take place in 2027.
Experiments in Opera has announced the launch of EIO Recordings, a new streaming label dedicated to promoting bold, boundary-pushing music within the evolving operatic tradition. Experiments in Opera has already commissioned and produced nearly 100 new works spanning theater, radio, and television. Their new label will serve as a resource for composers, librettists, conductors, and performers, giving artists access to these professionally mastered recordings that can support their careers. EIO Recordings is really needed because it fills a gap for young artists, said artist leader Kamala Sankaram. In many cases, you can't share archival recordings of your work, which makes it hard to get the next commission or job. Including these recordings as part of our commissions helps artists continue building their careers.
In major awards news, the winners of the 12th Annual International Opera Awards, formerly known by me as the Hymens, were named at a ceremony at Greek National Opera last week. Among the winners were soprano Marina Rebecca, bass baritone Nicholas Brownlee, mezzo-soprano Adele Charvet, countertenor Hugh Cutting, conductor Alain Altinoglu, designer Paolo Fantine, and director Klaus Gut. The Lifetime Achievement Award went to OBS Hall of Famer Agnes Balza, and the Leadership Award went to former Lyric Opera of Chicago General Director Anthony Freud.
A new bronze statue of Benjamin Britten, sculpted by renowned artist Ian Rank Broadley, has been unveiled on the seafront of Lowestoft, a coastal town in Suffolk, England. Facing the North Sea, the sculpture shows Britten as a boy, standing just yards from his childhood home. Composer Sir John Rutter led the unveiling ceremony in an event that brought together civic leaders, donors, and local children, who sang a specially commissioned song inspired by Britten's diary entries.
Exit stage right. Bass baritone Sir Donald McIntyre, commander of the British Empire, has passed away at age 91. Born in Auckland, New Zealand, McIntyre was known for his portrayal of Wagner roles and sang regularly at the Bayreuth Festival from 1967 to 1990, including as Wotan in the famous 76 Ring Cycle, which later won him a Grammy Award. McIntyre performed regularly at the world's top houses and leaves behind a substantial discography of many of his signature roles.
Bulgarian soprano Stefka Evstatieva has died at age 78. She made her professional debut as Amelia in A Masked Ball at the State Opera Russe in 1971 and went on to join the Sophian National Opera in 1978. She also appeared in major European houses, as well as in Buenos Aires, San Francisco, Dallas, and at the Met, where she debuted as Elizabeth in Don Carlo in 1984.
Austrian bass baritone Rudolf Wasserloff, whose singing career was centered at the Volksopera in Vienna, has passed away. He was a member of the Volksopera from 1973 to 2011, appearing in over 2,500 performances, including 26 premieres and 13 international tours. Outside of opera, Wasserloff took on acting engagements under the pseudonym Rudolf Rudy Walter, appearing in several feature films and radio plays. Rudy Walter was 98, and on this day, November 17th, birthdays include Italian baritone Giuseppe Campanari in Venice in 1855. He was born. He sang his debut at La Scala at age 19. In 1864, Cuban soprano Chalia Herrera was born in Havana. 1916 saw the birth of American soprano Helen Boatwright. In 1919, Italian tenor Agostino Lazzari was born. And in 1925, Australian conductor Charles Mackerras was born in Schenectady, New York.
Some premieres on this day. In 1839, the first performance of Giuseppe Verdi's first opera, Oberto, took place at La Scala. It, unfortunately, was not a success.
Womp womp.
Gaetano Donizetti's revision of Linda di Chamonix premiered in Paris at the Théâtre Italien in 1842. Ambroise Thomas' opera Mignon premiered in Paris in 1866. In 1877, Gilbert and Sullivan's first collaboration with D'Oyly Carte Company premiered. That was The Sorcerer. Amilcare Ponchielli's Lina premiered in Milan, and also that same day, 1877. Umberto Giordano's opera Fedora premiered in 1898, and on this day in 1950, it was the debut at the Met of Roberta Peters on 6 hours' notice as Zerlina in Don Giovanni.
And that's your 2-minute drill.
To love and to cherish, to have and to hold. I'm a hard man to beat, if I may be so bold. And I promise it all by the sweat of my brow.
Just a little bit of Sting with an unnamed pianist performing what is presumably a song that will be featured in The Last Ship, to be seen next June at the Met.
I wonder if it's one of the new songs that they wrote for this expanded production.
I'm not going to lie. When I was like a tween, I had a huge crush on Sting. And I remember he was in Dune, the movie, which really ages me. And I remember he came out wearing basically...
What do you mean? That just came out like 5 years ago.
He came out in a diaper. And I remember, there was very little male flesh in, major media. So that was extremely titillating for this... whatever, I was 8 or something like that. So I've always been a fan of Sting. And of course, I love The Police. Fields of Gold is a great song. I hope he can figure out a way to get Fields of Gold into The Last Ship. I guess it's about field and not an ocean of gold.
Yeah, maybe it's a metaphorical field.
Yeah,
they could just rewrite the poetry.
Or it could just be seas of gold. That fits pretty well.
Yeah. It seems like the Met is happy to have any tenant who can fill up that auditorium during the off season.
Well, this weekend at Lyric Opera, they're doing a concert opera of Melancholy and the what's it called?
Infinite Sadness.
Yeah,
right.
The Smashing Pumpkins album. So I will see that on Friday. It's not my jam, but I'm always curious to see how space is used and how the stage is used and how microphones are used. So I will report on it next week.
Well, Peter Gelb, if you want to send us tickets to The Last Ship, I think we could be persuaded to take a little New York trip.
Or we can get Sting on the show to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the bad news about the Opera Awards.
Give it to me, Oliver.
We tried to handicap it when we talked about the nominees, and the only thing that's, outstanding news from this is the Lifetime Achievement Award, but that was non-competitive, but we love to see Agnes Balsa get her flowers.
I will say that we were a little bit ahead of the curve of the Hymens, so...
Exactly. Hugh Cutting was named male singer? No, Rising Star with Adele Charvet, mezzo-soprano. So Hugh Cutting continues to prove me right that he's an artist to watch in 2025. And I already congratulated him on his recent debut solo album, which came out last month, which I love. Go ahead and find it on your whatever streaming service you use and go to the last track. He doesn't sing on it, but it will break your heart. It's so good. Hugh Cutting, we'll hopefully get him on the show sometime very soon. But Huw Monague Rendall lost to Nicholas Brownlee. I like Nicholas Brownlee, fellow podcaster, or he used to be a podcaster. Yeah, Nicholas Brownlee beat the field, which included another friend of the show, Solomon Howard, in addition to my husband in another world, Huw Monague Rendall. Marina Rebecca won the Readers Award, so readers love her.
She did. She was up against Fred, as I like to call him, Fredje Di Tommaso. Amratushvin Enkbat, Elena Garancha, Wallace Junta, friend of the show, Jakub Josef Orlinsky, Nadine Sierra, and Bogdan Volkov. So not a bad crew to have beaten out. She is a singer who I've seen live a couple times and do quite like, and then always seems to have a new album out. So I don't know.
I think she started her own label. So
yeah.
I'm not even kidding. Asmik Grigorian, I don't have that much experience with her, but the experience I do have with her, I'm very impressed. I saw her HD Butterfly, and she's bringing it.
If anyone was going to take out Sandra Radvanovsky for female singer, that would have been my pick. She does seem to have kind of lit the opera world aflame as a really exciting and electrifying performer. I watched a couple clips of her in Macbeth when I was prepping for the Salzburg Festival that George thought shouldn't win Best Summer Festival, and was really blown away both by the intensity of the performance and like how secure those Cuckoo Bananas arias sounded for her. So would really love to see her live. Hopefully she can come to Chicago in the near future.
It would be great to get George's take on Klaus Gut winning Director of the Year. I did see that Salome at the Met, and I thought it was technically outstanding. Any other things you want to talk about? I know I'm so sad. I'm not really joyful about these announcements. So there's another category that you wanted to touch on?
I mean, I'm always here for giving Agnes Balsa flowers, and will continue to do so until I'm no longer speaking publicly about opera.
Yeah. You foresee that happening. They gave her a standing ovation according to the story about the award ceremony. So she deserves at least that. and she should come onto the show. I don't know what's keeping her from coming on the podcast. I'd love to talk to her. Agnes Balta, open invitation. Please join us. Okay, so there's this Maria Callas orchestra in Paris, which I think is super cool to be like 8 years old and to be in the Rudolf
Nureyev.
Yeah. And to age out of the Rudolf Nureyev.
Maybe you can graduate to being Maria Callas orchestra member.
I mean, I just love that, these kids are going to at some point have to figure out who Rudolf Nureyev was and learn about his, just his whole thing, his whole story.
Fortunately, every Parisian is born knowing who Maria Callas is, so there will be no further education needed there. They'll just watch the Angelina Jolie movie and.
No, but this is awesome, and let's get those orchestral musicians learning how to play a Donizetti accompaniment as soon as possible.
It sounds like they use Juliet's Waltz as kind of the do or die excerpt recently for what it means to give and take with a vocal line and play not strictly in time.
Yeah. Listen to the singers. This is all good news. I love this type of initiative. We hear about, Elsie Stema and stuff like that and other of Suzuki. I know they're not related, but, ways of engaging young people in classical music. I think get them hooked on opera early. Let them do, Lady Macbeth of Mid-Sense or something like that, so they really understand what this art form can be about. Or, throw one at Weston Stockhausen.
He'll have a list.
Yeah.
At the ready.
Okay, so you wanted to talk about this Ivors?
Yeah, I do think it's very cool that they are breaking down one of the biggest barriers to really understanding how new music can, what the rights the composer has in classical music. Because so often, the only time we really encounter having to deal with things like copyright are when we're performing a Britten opera, or for a while with Strauss, just because so many of the works that we're doing are in the public domain. And particularly since there are so many artists and groups out there who are passionate about expanding the repertoire, creating new work that speaks to our times, it's not immediately clear how to do that as a performer. And you shouldn't have to go to law school in order to know what you're getting yourself into when you commission a new work or when you are commissioned to have a new work. And what I especially love about it is that the templates that they created for these composers and commissioners to use are not written in jargon, where there are probably nuances and in the boilerplate language that would go over your head if you weren't a trained attorney, and that lowers the barrier to entry substantially to have it written in everyday English with a real explanation of what that could mean. I hope that this really improves the lives of people who are out there trying to make a living as a composer, and just sheds a little bit more clarity. I think it kind of goes hand in hand with this EIO recording problem. The problem the EIO recording platform is trying to solve, which is that it is so complicated to make a recording of anything that is new and to have people hear it again. Because those archival recordings are really tucked away in the houses. A lot of that has to do with the union contracts or the copyright of the composer and their management and exclusivity. And it means that people don't have access to the music that is out there. And it's very challenging to think about programming something if you don't really know what it sounds like. And so having a reference recording to be able to listen to will help people get more work.
Agree 100%. And I guess the transition I'm trying to think of here about more work is something with the Kennedy
it won't
Center.
Be in DC over the next 3 weeks if you need more work.
Yeah, and our ongoing story with stupid things happening. What WTF KC? Yeah. I wonder if there are actual operas that have been rescheduled or postponed due to this. We should look at the WNO.
It sounds
schedule.
like the two big concerts that are affected are more with the National Symphony Orchestra. One's a concert with Camilla Nylund, and the other was the the Home Alone screening where the orchestra is playing along to the soundtrack, and those have both been either the Camilla Newland concert was rescheduled and the Home Alone concert was relocated. I will say that I don't necessarily have a ton of confidence in Rick Grenell's denial, just because that does not sound like of FIFA getting to use the space free of charge. It would not be really a twist at all for one of the world's most corrupt sports organizations and one of the world's most corrupt governments to have a little handshake deal there. I guess we will see as more details come out. But he did, of course, get a little rib in at the Washington Post for reporting what he said was incorrect, that they were not having to pay the venue spaces. If history is any guide, I would say that administration officials are not necessarily the most honest and forthcoming these days. So we'll see.
Well, on that note, let's wrap this show up.
Good call. Bad call on Opera Box Score.
Good call, bad call. It's how we end every show. Matt, it looks like you got a good call.
I do have a good call. We'll share an article out in our show notes about Joyce DiDonato and her ongoing work as an artist ambassador for opera, which includes a lot of work with inmates in prisons, and just I think it's so refreshing to have in this day and age like an advocate for the art form who speaks straightforwardly about the joy that music can bring, and to represent it outside of like the cultural elite bubble. So a nice feature in The Guardian about that work.
For me, it's the Chicago premiere of a song cycle that I heard sung yesterday by a friend of the show, Aryeh Nussbaum-Cohen, with pianist John Churchwell. It's by a friend of the show, Jake Heggie. It's called "O Children," on texts of Margaret Atwood. Aryeh performed that as part of his recital tour called Uncharted, which is mostly using the music from his album of the same name. It was a great concert, but the highlight was, in fact, this 3-song cycle by Jake Heggie. Hopefully they will get it recorded sometime soon, or that he'll perform it near you sometime soon. Very impressed. That's it for this week's edition of America's Talk Radio Show about opera. Make sure you subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Get your voice heard and find links to the things we've talked about at our website, operaboxscore.com. That's where you can put your money where our mouths are. Give back to the OBS using the Support the Team tab. Your announcer is Norm Waddell. Your creative consultant is yours truly. And your audio editor is Weston Williams. The executive producer of the OBS is George Cedarquist. For co-host Matt Cummings and our guest James Gaffigan, I'm Oliver Camacho, asking you to continue the conversation about opera while your headquarters are temporarily taken over by FIFA. We're back with an all-new show next week for the annual Opera Box Score Friendsgiving. Plus, you get more opera headlines, more hot takes, and more 8-year-olds in the pit. Join us.